Hey everybody, welcome back to Pre-Algebra. Today we're talking about integers and specifically adding integers. This is actually the second conversation that Ellie and I are having about adding integers. So my name is Hannah McAdams. I'm here with my daughter,
Ellie.
Okay, so some of this is going to be review because we're talking about adding integers. So I hope that you can get these answers right, but I did add a little bit more this time. Okay, so when you add a positive number, which direction do you go on the number line?
Right.
To the right. Okay, so if we have 8 plus 3.
Well, positive plus a positive, you go to the right.
Right, positive plus a positive, you go to the right. So we have 8 here.
Plus 3.
Plus 3, so we're going to go to the right. 3 of those dots, right?
11.
And there it goes to 11.
No, you have to pronounce it 11.
You've been doing this since the first grade, right? It's just adding. Okay, when you add a negative number, you move to the left on the number line. So we have 7 plus a negative 4.
It was originally written 7 minus 4, right? Because if
it could have been 7 minus 4, but this is another way to write that. 7 plus a negative 4, so we're going to the left here. Ready? And we get 3. And what you're saying is that's the same as saying 7
minus 3.
7 minus 4.
Oh, 7 minus 4. I meant to say that.
Right.
Dyslexic.
Okay, so let's try adding 2 negative numbers. This is different. We have not done this yet in our lessons. Okay, so if we have
2 negative numbers?
Yeah, adding 2 negative numbers.
Don't you rewrite that as negative 5?
We can.
Plus a parentheses.
Either way.
Negative 6?
Either way. If you like it that way, that's fine. But this works too. So if we have negative 5 minus 6, that means the same as negative 5 plus parentheses negative 6. So we're going to start at negative 5, right? And then are we going to go to the right or the left?
The left.
The left, 6 times. Okay, remember that the minus sign tells us to move to the left, so here we go.
And it's the one with the...
Right.
Can I try to see if I can remember the word? I can't ever remember it.
It doesn't matter for this one. That's for some...
that's
doesn't matter.
Just for adding?
We know it's going to be negative because both of these are negative.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay.
It's also
now,
the greatest.
do we know another math fact that uses 5, 6, and 11?
Yeah. 5
what is it?
Plus 6 or 6 plus 5 equals 11.
Right. 5 plus 6 equals 11. So even though we're subtracting here, right, we're actually adding these integers together and then we're just giving it the negative sign. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. When we add 2 negative numbers, we add them together and use the negative sign. I just said that. Okay. What happens when we start with a negative number? Well, let's try this. So negative 9 plus 5. So what's going to happen?
Well, we start at negative 9.
Uh-huh.
And then if it's a negative plus a positive, you subtract. And then you keep this negative sign.
Not necessarily, but
you keep
in this
the larger
case you
sign.
do. Right.
But
which direction are we going to move on the number line?
Subtracting, I would assume the left.
Well, we've got negative 9.
Negative 9 plus 5.
So that plus means we go to the right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go to the right.
Why didn't your robot come out when I needed it?
I don't know. Okay, and the answer is negative 4. Now, you got the negative right because you said that negative 9 has a greater absolute value than 5 does, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we know another math fact that uses 9, 5, and 4?
I'm going to assume 9 minus 5 equals 4.
Yeah, so what did we do here? We've got different signs, negative and positive, and we ended up subtracting, right? Okay, so if the signs are the same, we add. If the signs are different, we subtract, right? Okay, so we have a positive and a positive, which means we add, right?
Right.
You've been doing that since first grade, okay? So you can see this one says plus 6 plus 5, but I didn't have to have that plus 6. It could be just 6 plus 5.
You don't really have to add the positive.
Right.
You have to add negative.
Yes. Okay, but look at this. If we have a negative plus a negative, we also add.
So
Okay,
if it's the same sign plus the same sign, you add.
right. So here I have -2 minus 5, or that could be written as -2 plus a -5
How did you get? Oh wait, never mind. That's a
equals
negative.
-7. Okay? All right? Negative plus a positive means subtract. For example, -3 plus 9 is 6. Okay? A positive plus a negative also means subtract. So those are different signs. So we have -4 minus 5 is -1, or it could be written I'm sorry, I said -4. 4 minus 5 is -1, or 4 plus a -5 is -1. Okay, so when adding a negative and positive, how do we know if the answer will be negative or positive? Okay, well, look at the very bottom thing. It has to do with absolute value, right? So look at the bottom equation. 4 plus a -5 equals -1. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is the absolute value of 4?
The absolute value of 4 is just 4.
Is 4, right? And what is the absolute value of -5?
Positive 5.
Positive 5. So which one has a greater absolute value?
5.
5. And again, you could also, here's the guy, okay. So because 5 is negative, we're going to make the sign be negative. It also has to do with how far away it is from 0. So -5 is 5 away from 0. 4 is 4 away from 0. So 5 has a greater value. Okay, -5 has a greater value. All right, how to add positive and negative numbers, integers. Okay, so if you have not written this down yet, please do. All right, we did this yesterday, but do you remember? So here we have -5 plus 2. So we have a couple things. We need to determine if we're going to add or subtract.
Subtract because it's a negative and positive.
Right, so they're different signs. If the signs are the same, then we add. If the signs are different, then we subtract. And since negative and positive are different, we're going to subtract. Determine whether the answer will be positive or negative.
Negative.
Okay.
Because the larger number in the
Absolute
value is 5.
Right. The absolute value of 5 is more than the absolute value of 2, right?
So it's going to be negative.
Okay, so it's going to be negative. The answer to the equation will have the same sign as the integer with the greater absolute value. Whew, that's a lot. Okay, so it's going to be negative. And then we solve. And you already said we're going to subtract. So we subtract. Right?
5 minus 2 is -3. Well, -5 minus 2.
-5 plus 2
Ah!
is -3. But what you could say is 5 minus 2 is 3. And then just remember the negative sign. Okay, now this is also new. A few more things. So here we have -5 minus a -8.
Oh, I remember this. You told me about this.
Yeah, we talked about it when we were studying, but I want you to see what this is. Okay, so we have two negatives right together, two minus signs right together. So it looks like this. Now watch. I can take the second one and flip it and then move it over, and look, it becomes a plus sign. Isn't that cool?
You love making these weird
I really
things.
love animation. Okay, so when you have two negative signs together, they create a plus sign. Okay? All right, so how to add multiple integers. Now this is also new as far as these lessons go. I know you've studied this a little bit before, but I want to go over it again. So here we have -4 plus 2 minus a -3 plus 7. So the first thing we need to do is get rid of that minus sign. Do you remember how to do that?
Turn it into a positive.
Turn it into a positive.
You're going to make those... Oh, I thought you were going to make
didn't.
them again and then do that just to satisfy
because
you.
it's fun. Okay. Now, you can do this a couple different ways, but the method that I'm going to show you today is to just go from the left to the right. So let's look at the first two numbers. -4 plus 2. Just ignore the 3 and the 7, okay? So
you subtract because it's a negative and a positive, and you
Right.
would get a -2 because
Right.
4 is the greater absolute value.
Good. Okay, so that's -2. Look at you. Now we're going to recopy. Since this is pre-algebra, we want to practice recopying things because that's a lot of what algebra is. So we're going to recopy the plus 3 plus 7. Okay. Now we're going to focus on these two, negative 2 plus 3.
It is a positive and a negative.
So
And
that means
you will subtract. And 3 is the greater absolute value, so you're going to drop the negative after you do
Right,
the
so
question. But you get 1.
1.
Positive
Positive 1. Okay, then I'm going to recopy the 7 plus 7. And now we're going to focus on that. What's 1 plus 7?
8.
8. And so our answer here is 8. And that's all we have today. Thank you, Ellie. I think that you had a pretty good attitude for today and you did really well. I hope that all of you watching are also working hard and learning a lot. I will talk to you next time. Bye.